Andrea Appierto is a former international Alpine skier who, after retiring from competition, became first a coach and then a sports psychologist. I'm Callum Murray, and to coincide with the launch of the BIU's Summer of Mental Health campaign, I spoke to Andrea about his work and about the importance of mental health in biathlon. I began by asking him how he became a sports psychologist and how the job differs from that of a regular psychologist.
In Italy, it's been a long way because to become a psychologist, you have to do 3 years of bachelor, 2 years of master, and then at my time it were mandatory to attend like an internship, 1 year internship, and after that you have a big exam, and then you can become psychologist. After that, I've done 1 year of master in sports psychology and another 4 years of specialization in psychotherapy. So it's been a really long way. But for me, it's important to have like a wider education, not just in sport. What they have in common, and what is in common is that you're working with a person, and what it changed most is, I mean, the request or the goal. Because when you are working as a sports psychologist, you always keep an eye on the performance. And in my opinion, you have to know really well all the sports fields, like team dynamics, the relationship between coaches and athletes. I mean, what is normal and what is not in sports. So for sure, you're working with a person, but you have always to keep an eye on the performance. So normally people don't come to the office and ask you to how to perform well, but with the athletes it's like this. So well, I think this is what is changed most working with athletes.
And you were yourself an international Alpine skier. What was your own mental health experience as a professional skier? And did you receive any mental health support? And if not, what support would have helped you?
At my time, I didn't receive any like professional support. I mean, for sure, support from my coaches or from my parents or from the teammates, but any professional support. In my opinion, what it could help me is a professional support, not only to handle or to manage the pressure before the race, but for my mindset, for my mentality, for my approach. I mean, I think that was my weakness point at that time, but 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't so common to work with a sports psychologist. And I think that's the reason, or that's why I started studying psychology, because I want to know better how the psychological side can influence or interfere with the performance. But in my opinion, for sure, it could help me a lot 10 years ago, for sure.
And as you probably know, the BIU has just begun its Summer of Mental Health campaign, which
Mhm.
followed the launch of a mental health working group earlier this year. Why do you think initiatives like these are important in sport?
I think that we need more initiatives like this because, in my opinion, we have to work on a different floor, So from the top, we have the institution or federation that they have to promote the psychological side or to raise awareness about that. And after that, we find the coaches because when you find a coach who have like a open mindset to work with a psychological side, it's easier, and the synergy between the sports psychologists and the coaches creates a lot of opportunities and new perspective for working. And after that, in my opinion, we find parents because we need to educate the parents and to let them understand how is important this psychological side in sports. And last but not least, the athletes, because when an older athlete or a top athlete can speak with the younger guys about how is important or how they work on the psychological side, they raise awareness about that. And so through the initiative like this, we promote a lot the working on the psychological side and sometimes to raise awareness about what is normal and what is not, or to understand better a lot of all the psychological stuff. So I think we need more initiative like this and working from with different level, no, with different floor. For me, it's really important.
So, following on from that, what is the role of a sports psychologist in the well-being of athletes? And is it about more than just maximizing performance?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, for sure. Because as I said before, when you're working with the athlete, you always keep an eye on the performance, but you have to let the athlete understand himself better and know himself better. For example, to find their own balance, to find their own way to live their sports or how to live the disciplines, how to approach the disciplines. Because sometimes we think that we have to work just on the performance, how to approach the race, how to manage the pressure or the tension before the race, but it's not like this. I mean, we have to work during the whole season how to manage like a long period with trainings and trainings and races and after that you can go to the performance in a better way or to approach better. So in my opinion we have to work in a wider way, because when you're working on the mentality or on the mindset, perform it will be easier, but not just the focus on the performance but what is before the performance. So for me, for sure, it's not only just about the performance but how to manage the way you live your sport.
And I guess you would say that athletes have to take some responsibility for their own mental health. So, what can they do to maintain their mental health during longer training and competition periods when they're often away from home and their loved ones for several weeks at a time?
But I think that the athlete, they are used to live away from their home. So for me, the most important thing is to know yourself and to understand which activities help you to mentally detach when you're away from your home. Because you have to find your comfort zone and when you are away from home. And I think that we can put this discussion like in a bigger team, which is the mental resources management. For example, with the biathlon national junior team in Italy, we are working a lot with that because for us it's important to educate and to promote the mental and physical resources management. So for me, it's important to know yourself and to understand how you can mentally detach when you are away from home. I think that's the point.
You touched on this earlier, but awareness of mental health in athletes has changed quite a lot in recent years. How can it be further improved, do you think?
Yeah, it changed a lot, in my opinion, from since 15 or 10 years ago. And for me, it's important to have like an initiative like the IBU working group, or for example, in the past Olympics games, we listen a lot of interview about where top athletes speak about the importance of the psychological health or something like this. And I think that is important because they promote a lot the awareness of the psychological side. So for me, it's to promote that from the institution to the federation to the coaches. Sometimes it takes time, but I mean, we are in a good way at the moment because it's not just about the sport psychology, it's about psychology, no? And so it's cultural issues. So it takes time because it's a big change in our mindset, in our mentality.
What are the most common reasons that coaches and athletes give for getting in touch with you as a sports psychologist?
From the athlete, the big theme is how to handle the pressure or to manage the tension better for the races. And I mean, behind that there is always a big word, so you have to work for sure on a different level, on a different floor with the athlete. But I think this is the bigger theme: handle the pressure, handle the tension, how to approach better in a race. And from the coaches, some advice to how to coach better about their coaching style, or how they can handle or manage like a particular situation with an athlete. I mean, the relationship with the athlete. This is the big theme from the coaches. For example, with the national team in Italy, we are working a lot with like an education for the coaches. They are, I think, they are more open in the psychological part. So we try to working a lot with the coaches, not just with the athletes from the junior team, also with a B team. So with the older guy.
And a final question, do you have any tips that you can give to coaches for helping to maintain their own and their athletes' mental health?
This is another request. It's not easy, but I can start from the athlete. I mean, the advice for me is to find their way, to find their own way to live their sports, to know yourself better and to understand their self. Because when you try to reach, like the top level, the line between the obsession, passion to obsession, it's so thin, and sometimes it's a risk, because we listen a lot in sport that obsession is it's okay to reach something great, but it's a risk. So to keep yourself in a good balance, you have to know yourself and to find their own way, because what you have to find what is functional for you and what is dysfunctional, and it's different from the others. It's like a path. No, you have to understand yourself and what is good for you and what is not, because you have to keep a good balance between passion and obsession, and it's so important for me. And from the coaches to know that, especially in a when you're work with a top levels, or you're involved a lot, to know that it's like a support role, and they have to experience the results of the athlete, not through the athlete but with the athlete, because sometimes it's a risk. I mean, I know that we are involved a lot when you're working with the athlete, but the career is theirs, and so we are the coaches, and it's different, our career from their career. And from the coaches too, to find their philosophy, to find their way, how to coach better, to put the athletes in the best condition possible to perform. And that, I mean, and that's all. But sometimes it's not easy to do like this, because you are involved a lot.
Thank you, Andrea. Really interesting answers. Thank you for joining us on this BIU podcast interview.
Thank you.